Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a special preview, a special edition of One Leeds. We're back here with Brownie. We're doing a little bit of a preview of the Ipswich game at the weekend. I feel like there needs to be just talk after talk after talk when it comes to it. To be fair, Brownie, we might even be live when Farker's doing his press conference chat, but I can't imagine he's going to say anything new, to be honest with you. But how are you doing anyway, mate? You're good?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Getting ready for Christmas. I'll probably start my shopping today or tomorrow or something like that. But no, all good.
Have you not started at all yet?
I'm only joking. Yeah, the main man's sorted, so
Yeah.
he's ticked off. But yeah, looking forward to Saturday. I say looking forward to. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it with anxiety, I think, because it is a big one. I listened back to your show last night about is it a must win? I'm not in the camp of must win, but it's a must not lose. I do believe that. I think it's a must not lose. 13 points is a sizable gap with only half the season left, I think, especially for a team like Ipswich that it looked like they were having a wobble, but they've lost 1 in 9 since that wobble, so they look like they've turned a corner a bit. So yeah, it's going to be a tricky one, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I think the only reason I think a lot of people, I can see Bradley in the chat as well, saying it's he thinks it's a must win as well. And I think where people are coming from with that is you've almost just answered your own point there when it comes to the gap. Like, in my opinion, mate, there are not enough quality teams in this division to be taking points off Ipswich, off Leicester, off even Southampton, and off us, really. I think the issue right now is we're the only ones, and Leicester, Norwich have done us a little bit of a favour as well. We're the only ones at this moment in time, the good teams, that can actually take points off Ipswich. It just seems like, really, like you've quite rightly said, I think they've lost 1 at home to us, but I think they're just running through the division at this moment in time. I know they're conceding goals, but they're still scoring more than everyone else. They're the top scorers in the division at the minute. It just feels like the reason for me this is a must win is because we're going to be one of the only teams who's really going to take 3 points off them.
Yeah, I totally understand that, and I get what people are saying with that. But again, you go back to the Championship, it is very unpredictable. I mean, we dropped points at Rotherham, they dropped points at Huddersfield. Nobody would have seen them dropping points at home to Norwich. As much as it was a derby, you expect them to roll them over at home. But yeah, I agree. There's not many top quality teams in the division, which is something I've said myself all season. There's a massive gap between the Premier League and the Championship, and it is a sizable gap. But they still have Leicester to play twice, who I do believe will be champions. So there's possibly 6 points from that, which then leaves you looking at just one game here and not getting beat by them, and you're neck and neck. So it would be a massive win.
Do you think Brownie at the minute as well, though? Like, I know we're on the same sort of like form guide as what Burnley were on last season at this point, but it's a completely different division, and really there's no point in comparing right now. But do you think as well it's Leeds' consistency, which is worry? Because me and you've said it before. And we were saying it last season in the Prem. It's like, well, if so and so win, if they lose this game, they lose this game, they lose this game, then we can make up that gap. But it's about Leeds as well, isn't it, mate? It's like, the Rotherham game. It's obviously the Sunderland game, the Coventry game. Leeds are being consistent without being consistent, if that makes sense. It's got to a little point now where Ipswich faltered, we drew to Rotherham. Ipswich faltered again against Norwich. We then drew to Coventry. We need to make up the gap ourselves, don't we, mate? It's not all just about what Ipswich are doing.
Of course, and myself included, guilty of this. Always looking at the Ipswich result, looking at the Southampton result, looking at the Leicester. We've just got to focus on ourselves, and that sounds very Daniel Farke, but it's true. I mean, in years gone by, you'd be blown away with the start Leeds have had. You'd be absolutely blown away with it in terms of other Championship years. And I think because of the gap, we look at the Rotherham result and the Sheffield Wednesday result and the result against Coventry and think, it's same old Leeds, inconsistent. But we have been consistently good for a long period of time. I mean, if you take August out of the equation, That's a lot of points since September because we didn't get many in August. So to be sat on, what is it, 42?
42, yeah.
42 points with really a 5-game head start for the others, because that first 5 games was pretty dreadful stuff, and it looked like where do Leeds United go from here before the transfer window shut. So effectively, we've got 42 points from minus 5 games on everybody else. So it is a good return of points. But yeah, for me now going forward, we need to take care of ourselves, and I don't know if complacency is the right word, but we look very predictable in the last couple of games, and I'd throw the Blackburn game into that. I know we got the win at Blackburn, but you kind of know what we're going to do.
Yeah,
and it's the away form really that's hampering us. I mean, at home we're pretty strong, as are Ipswich and Leicester. But yeah, we've said this ourselves a few times, and it might sound to other fans like, oh, it's an excuse or Leeds thinking the big time and that, but it's just different when you play Leeds. It's everybody's big game, and I don't care what people say it is. In the Championship, everybody looks for when Leeds are coming to town. It's their massive game. I mean, I saw yesterday on the fixtures being on Sky Sports. We're on Sky Saturday, we're on Sky Boxing Day, we're on Sky at New Year. Every game Leeds seem to play is a massive game for people, and it ups everybody's game tenfold. Sunderland at home against Leeds, massive game for them. Everybody's talking about the 73 Cup final and Leeds are in town. It is what it is. That is the fact of it. Sunderland at home to a QPR on a Tuesday night. You're not telling me it's bouncing like it was at Stadium of Light a couple of weeks ago.
It's always been the case. It's always been the case, though, hasn't it, mate? Like it's always been the same.
And that is something that Leeds have got to overcome. And we spoke on one of our previous shows about how young our side was. That could be a positive, that they are playing with confidence and freedom and not really bothered about all the noise away from Ellen Road and the stadium they're in, because it can be thrown at Leeds that we're quite naive with how young we are. But on the flip side, I think it can be a positive. We've seen with our points return, it does just seem like we're playing without a fear. But I think we need to turn some of them draws into wins. And when you look at the draws in every single drawn game, Hull, Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday, Coventry, we've had some massive chances. We have had some big chances, and I'll bring it up again. If a certain person was missing them chances, he'd be getting hung, drawn and quartered.
Yeah. Getting to a few comments. Bradley says, Connor, I've never seen anyone but South Americans drink from those. That's it, mate. I'm trying to morph into Darwin Núñez. It's just Leeds, though, to have Leicester and a League One promotion side flying only Leeds. And Hannah, you're right. I mean, we all remember that. I think it was the 18-19 season, wasn't it, with Bielsa, when we bumped into Daniel Farke's Norwich and Chris Wilder's Sheffield United. And I think in that season, Sheffield United went on a 10-game winning run. It was ridiculous. And yeah, and obviously in our championship campaigns as well, we've had Brentford, who've almost been the outsiders as well. Yeah, it's been, I agree, it's been completely ridiculous.
Like Hannah says, and you just alluded to then Sheffield United, everybody were like, and I'm guilty of this with Ipswich this season, they'll go away. They'll go away. They can't.
You are like that. Yeah, I remember it with the Prem relegation. It was Forest, wasn't it? That were definitely going down.
Well, I mean, I think they'll get away with it again this year because there's 3 dreadful teams in the league. Like, I still think they will falter at some point because they're very similar to Leeds in the fact that you mentioned before about they've got a lot of goals in the team. There's not one person out and out scoring them all. They've got Broadhead, Hurst, Chaplin, Burns. They're all chipping in with goals similar to us, like James, Somerville, Rutter, Pirot. There's not an out-and-out person banging the goals in.
Yeah, it's true.
Which probably helping them in the fact that when someone's missing, they've still got other people that can do it. I mean,
I don't know about the. I don't know if because you said you caught the show last night, Brownie. I don't know if you heard the stat that was being reeled out, but I was just curious to see substitute-wise how impactful they've been for Ipswich and ours, really, because I think Farke does get that wrong, in my opinion, timing-wise and just the time given to the subs to make an impact. But Ipswich have scored 12 goals substitute-wise. They've got, I think it's Harness, Amari Hutchinson, Jack Taylor, who just chip in all the time, whereas Leeds have got 1 goal from a substitute, and that was coincidentally Jaden Anthony. I think it was a 3-0 win at Watford against Watford at home. So it's I think he might have just gone there. He'll be back, everyone. I think you heard his laptop go, didn't you? Colin says, after 23 games in 2019 under Bielsa, we had 47 points. Not a million miles away from where we are now. I agree, Col. I think you're right, mate. But, I would say you have to be perfect, don't you, Col, this year? That is the issue with Leeds right now. We can't be faltering whatsoever. I think that's what me and Brownie are alluding to right now. It is that process of knowing as fans that we can't really compare to other seasons. It's difficult because you want to compare to Bielsa because how good we were, and you want to compare to Farke's Norwich, and you want to compare to Company's Burnley. But it's just so difficult at this moment in time. You back there, Dave? He's just messaged me. Hold on, everyone. You there, mate?
I'm here, mate. I'm here.
I heard your laptop go. Was that what it was? I heard, is it that Windows thing where it's like da-da, and then it goes? It's like, oh god. I'll wait for you to get back on, mate. But teams sit behind the ball and sit deep. A lack of scoring from outside the boxes. That's a really good point from Bradley in it, Brown. I mean, we talk about, anyway, I'll just finish the point I was talking about. But Brad, we'll come back to that in just a second, Brown, Brownie and Bradley. But, the substitute thing, mate, it's massive, isn't it? Because what we're not getting at the minute is productivity off the bench, whereas Ipswich are getting it. And I think that's another part of their play, which is just outweighing Leeds at the minute.
No, I totally agree. And what you mentioned was a massive point about the time that the substitutions, the amount of time the players are getting on the pitch, it's not a lot. And then when you see, I know it's not the under-23s anymore, but they're not really getting much. Remember under Bielsa, Grazzi, and Marsh, to be fair, players that weren't playing were always going and playing with the 23s. You saw it all the time. You saw Gelhardt, you saw Rutter himself, you saw Nonto popping up sometimes with 20. They're not. So when are they playing? Because they're not playing any reserve team football. They're not really getting a sniff on the pitch. And I mean, someone in the comments will be able to tell them, but the starting 11 seems to have been the same for the last 4, 5, 6 games.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And that's what someone said it to me the other day, Brownie. They said we're becoming predictably predictable. Bradley Pickles says, teams sit behind the ball and sit deep. Our lack of score from outside the box is painful. And I guess we don't like doing it, but, Colin was comparing to the Bielsa season where at this stage we had 47 points and now obviously we have 42, which I think 5 points is quite a bit, to be fair. I know people say that it's not, but I do think it is quite a bit. Maybe it's a few mistakes in Leeds' book when it comes to Coventry and Sunderland and co. But Bradley says, a lack of scoring from outside the box is painful. We didn't massively do it under Bielsa, but the two players that stick out for me is Click and Hernandez. Pablo, who were, you'd see Pablo coming up with a bit of a miracle, wouldn't you, Brownie? Do you remember that Bristol City, the home game, where he spins and puts it in with his left foot? Unbelievable finish. Click, 25 or 30 yards, whatever it was. I know he didn't do it towards the end, but he would chip in the Championship with goals from outside the box. Sheffield Wednesday, Rotherham come to mind. At this moment in time, it's a lack of a 10, isn't it, mate? It's a lack of a 10 at the minute and a proper goal-scoring midfielder.
Absolutely. I mean, the debate of Pirro and which one's the 9, which one's the 10, the keeping to linking. But I think the other end is when you talk about becoming predictable. I love Archie Gray to bits and he's one hell of a player, but he's not a right back and he's continually playing right back. You look at the last few goals we've conceded, there've been balls hung up to that area. And you talk about predictability. We know what team's going to play, so the opposition are going to know what teams, and they're going to hit weaknesses. And Archie Gray is a weakness at right back. Not saying he's a bad player or anything like that, but
no,
he's just a square peg in a round hole just to get him into the team. And
the
Coventry goal, people question all three. Like Melier, the ball's in the air a long time. I think he can come and get it. Archie Gray get done with a header again at the back post and strikes marking space. And in all the years I've played football, I've never seen space score, to be honest. I've never seen space on the score sheet. So you look at the Sunderland goal, it's a ball bouncing at that back post area that Bellingham got in on. It just seems that, and I can go through it all, Middlesbrough's first goal came down that side at right back. Norwich's goal at Carrow Road came down that side at right. Well, both of them. Well, sorry, no, one of them did. It was the first goal was a corner, but the second goal came down that side, and it does seem that we're getting targeted down there. It really does. But again, that comes from a continual starting 11. But I think for him not being a right back, he's done fantastic there.
Oh, Brownie's been exceptional. He's been it's his breakout season. Mate, it's his breakout season. And not what me and you were saying on previews at the start of the season. It's not only the fact that he's a kid. Brownie's 17. He's 17. And we're talking about, we were saying we've got to sign a midfielder. I think this is before we got Kamara. We've got to sign a midfielder because you can't have him in the midfield every single game. It's not fair on his development. We've seen what's happened with Lewis Cook when he's broke down over the years. And I think that's because in the league, the championship season, we're playing him. But you look at what we've then done, and you couldn't predict this, but we've then started putting him right back. It's staggering. It really is staggering, mate. And the kid needs a rest. He really does need to. But then we need to freshen it up. So then does he go in central midfield, make a midfield three, make us a little bit unpredictable? But we don't need to get into January, mate. But I think this is where, Brownie, from my perspective, mate, when I've said this on the debrief last night, I've said this on multiple videos, we're struggling massively because of the profiles we're missing, pal. We're missing a left back. We've just got Spence back, but he's still not playing right back. We haven't got a Cam. And let's be honest, pal, I know you're a big Bamford fan, but the stats do back it up off the bench. He's been nothing short of tripe. So we do need an attacker to almost, compete with whoever our number 9 is.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't know, I'm not sure if it's Gray needing, but he just needs to play in his position. You see, like you say, it's his breakout season. He's the best young prospect we've had come through our ranks in a long time, and I totally believe he will go to the top. And we're playing him right back.
I know.
It's bewildering. It really is. But for the performance he's putting in at right back, his wrong position, is so good. But I do feel that especially aerially, a lot of balls seem to get floated to that sort of area.
But that's a lot of, Brownie. That's, playing at a decent, very good level. I know playing at a very decent level. I know if when you go into the men's game, it's completely different to what he was playing before. But, when he was part of that developmental squad, Archie's quite a big lad. He's quite a big lad. But, you look at him physically, he's growing, but physically he's still a slight, small lad. If you're getting big wingers at the back post or strikers peeling off onto his side because they know he's weaker at right back, how on earth does he physically compete with these players? And this is what I mean. He needs bedding in. He needs bedding into a natural position. If
you were coming up against Leeds, you definitely would hang balls into the box. Meslier won't come and catch out, and Archie Gray's not going to go and smash headers away. We've seen that. So that would be an area that you'd probably target against Leeds. But there's a few comments saying about the squad isn't big enough, strong enough. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure we've seen the squad. Seen it.
But he doesn't trust. He can't trust them, mate. He can't trust them. He can't.
And I saw an interesting stat this week about underperforming and overperforming XGs, and Rutter was the big one for me, where the chances he's squirming are massive. They really are, and they're starting to hurt us as well because he's missing chances at key moments. We got away with it at Blackburn. He missed a massive one in the first half. Luckily, Dan James scored 5 or 10 minutes later, but he's missing big chances in big moments. And I know January's talk for another day, but it's 10 days away, and it can't be a quiet one. It can't.
No, it can't, mate. I mean, we just looking here now, and these are the big chances missed when it comes to the strikes in the Premier League, in the Championship. You see George Hurst with a few chances missed there, but Rutter has missed 9 big chances this season. So the stats back up what you're saying, mate. Obviously, Somerville's missed 7, but Somerville's also got 10 goals. But if we just take this back as well, Brownie,
doing that, the chances that he's missing as well are more amplified because he's missing them in drawn games. So Hull, Sheff Wednesday, Coventry. He's missing them in games where they're costing us points.
And I guess this is why, mate. This is when you look at big chances created. This is why maybe he's not like a number 9. You know, big chances created 17, by far the biggest in this division. Which, like we say, is fantastic. But we even look at this is interesting here, Brownie, because you look at the shots on target per 90. Bamford 2.7. Shots per 90. He's having 6 shots when he's playing a 90-minute spell, which is obviously he doesn't really do that anymore. But his conversion rate is pretty low as well. So we've not got really anyone challenging challenging that number 9. But I'd argue we don't have a number 9. But also, Brown, I just wanted to bring this to you as well. And this is interesting when it comes to goalkeepers. Save percentage, Mads Hermansson, obviously at Leicester, doing really well. But I mentioned this on a video I did early on. But if we just bring this all the way down, we go to the next page. This is save percentage. Elan Mele at the minute is at 64%. Save percentage, which is staggering, really. I had a look at that earlier on today, and this is a good one, Brownie. This is a way of just putting it into simple terms. Goals prevented. You look at Hermansson, who, you expect Leicester to control games, really. And you look at, the Ipswich goalkeeper here, they're in positive numbers, saved, a goal per, for the season. Mads Hermansson saved 5 goals. We just go all the way down here. All the way down, Elan Mele minus 3.6. Not even in positive.
Tie up the lack of proficiency up top and the lack of stopping shots going in. It's not good showing, really, is it? At both ends of the pitch. But then you go full circle and you think, we've got 42 points and we're 3rd in the league. Yeah. We're definitely in the hunt. Playoffs are nailed on for me 100% at minimum. And it's just if Leicester or Ipswich slow down, we've got to be the team that pounces. I'm sure Southampton will have something to say about that as well. But
yeah, they're looking all right at the minute, aren't they?
Yeah, I do feel that we have to be strong in January. And I don't know if bolster's the right word, because if you look at the bench, it's ridiculous for the Championship. It really is. But we just never seem to use the bench.
But are they the right? Is it the right option? If you look at it, mate, like we've got Gelhardt on there at the weekend, haven't we? You have Cooper on at the weekend. He left Anthony out the squad. He's got Gruev, Ayling, I think, was on there as well. Obviously, Nonso is there. But when you look at it, mate, when you break it down, Bamford's there. Is it really? And I know they've played Premier League, but it's different. Is it? When you think to yourself, are they game changers on there? Are they game changers? Are they impactful? I'm not sure there are, mate.
When I say strong, if you look at that bench, you take Leeds, Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton out of the equation, they go into any other Championship team and start.
Is that a system thing then, do you think, with Farke? Do you think it's a system thing, or do you think it's he's just getting the timings wrong for them to come on the pitch? What is it that they're coming off the bench and they're not doing anything, the subs, really?
Well, I think I've alluded to this before. They're coming on in games that are either won and the game's done and there's no urgency to go and attack and get at teams, or they're coming on with 10 minutes to go. The only time I can remember the bench being used and it going full throttle was Norwich away when we were 2-0 down. And the cavalry arrived and our formation were like 2. We had Dan James wing back at one side and Nonto wing back at the other. We had Somerville, Perot, Bamford. They were all on the pitch. And you think, bloody hell, he's done it here. He's gone for it. But other than that, the substitution in games, I mean, I wouldn't want to come on in a game that was dead and buried and there's no urgency to go and get going. Because Leeds have been guilty of this a few, not guilty because it's good game management, but 1-0, 2-0 up, shut shop, keep the ball, see the game out. And that's the type of games they're coming in on. You look at the Stoke game, they came on, Bamford, Nonto, and made an impact. We were a bit more progressive. We got the penalty. We created a few chances, but they're not really getting much game time.
I think it's criminal at the minute what he's doing with Nonso. I think it's criminal. I really do. I mean, even if you're bringing him on,
I think he will start on Saturday. Nonso.
Who comes out? But is James not perfect for this? Then honestly, mate, I'm looking at this and thinking, look at this.
Unless Rutter comes out, mate, because since the
or Perot, because he drops a little bit deeper, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's the thing though. So like we're here talking about plenty of options, but they just don't seem to really get used.
Yeah.
The interesting one was, like you mentioned there, Anthony not being in the squad. Part of me thought, because there's obviously been a lot of rumours about Sinisterra coming back, that was my initial thought when Anthony wasn't in the squad. Is that in motion? Is that going to be a thing that happens at the start of January? And I've seen a lot of debate on this about, he can't come back. He went, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's mental.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy you've said that, because I was worried you were going to come on here and I was going to ask you about Sinisterra, and I thought you were going to say, it's fine, but I thought you were going to say, can't believe what he's done, sorry. I mean, you've got to brown it. You've got to look at it. If we got Sinisterra back now, he's the best player in the Championship. We saw that even at the start when he tore apart Ipswich and a couple of others. He is by a country mile. I don't care about sentiment. Get him back in. We'll use him for 6 months, whatever. Don't have to be anything attached, but bend him off in the
funny thing is a lot of people are using the argument side before self. That's why he can't play. Well, that's my argument for him playing, because he improves our side and it puts it before my self emotions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my argument for him playing. So
100%. Yeah.
I think you'd have to be ludicrous to say, I don't want him just because he left. End of the day, players want to play in the Premier League. He's got no allegiances to Leeds United. He's been there. He's been here a year. He's got no ties to Leeds. He's a footballer. It's his job. He plays for whoever pays him money at the highest level. You saw that with Max Owens. Max Owens went to Bournemouth because they're in the Premier League over Leeds. That hasn't worked out for him. Sinisterra is a class above, and I mean, Nonto, people are happy with Nonto playing. The only reason he didn't get anywhere is because the club said no. He wanted to leave, but people are still okay with him playing. So if he'd have had his wish, he'd have been at Everton. I just think that Sinisterra coming back in January would be a
game changer.
Yeah.
He's a 20. Brownie. He's a 20 on the market. He's a 25. He's a 25 million pound player, isn't he? So you bring him back, and if it's not worked out for him at Bournemouth, you say, look, dig your heels in for 6 months, get us promoted, and you can sail off. You can sail off into sunset. And even Brownie, if we got promoted, he might want to stay because he's playing in the Premier League. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I'm not sure he will come back. I don't get why he would. He wanted to leave, and now all of a sudden he wants to come back. And it's not like he hasn't been playing. He's not started many games, but he's been coming on in a lot. I mean, he scored at Man City. He came on at Old Trafford when they won there in the 3-0 win. So it did come as a bit of surprise as he was coming back, unless he's coming back to be sold.
This is interesting from an Ipswich fan as well. Thanks for your comment, Jake. Thankfully, every time we drop points, Leeds fail to capitalise on it. Last weekend against Norwich, when we lost to West Brom, you got the draw against Rotherham. When we drew with Huddersfield, you lost to Saints. I forgot about that. There's literally, it's every single occasion.
I'm not having that because the Rotherham one was before they played. So
yeah, I think what he's saying is just in terms of a weekend fixture list. Every time they drop points, we can't capitalise on it, you know?
I just didn't understand how you capitalise before they've played. But I know what you're saying, yeah. and he's right. He's right that you're wanting teams to drop points, but they're happening on when we're dropping points. And the other thing that's big this weekend is, I mean, Leicester at home to Rotherham. So that's even, I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to Rotherham, but that you'd imagine be another 3 points onto Leicester's tally, which increases the gap again. It's a key moment this next 4 weeks for Ipswich. They play Leicester twice and Leeds. If they're still with a sizable gap after that, then I'd probably start to think, you know what, they're here for the long haul. If their gap's completely gone, it could be they could get beat by all three. Could be down to 1 point.
I think if let's say hypothetically, and I'm not saying this is going to happen by the way, but hypothetically, if they beat us and increase it to 13 points, I think if we were in their position and we were seeing Ipswich 13 points behind us, we were saying it's pretty much job done.
Absolutely. If they come to Ellen Road and beat us and make it 13 points, I for the first time would be consigned to thinking it's too big of a gap.
Yeah. I think so. And then, I mean, you drag on the opposite side though, you beat them, You drag it down to 7, and then they've got Ipswich at Portman Road, and you're hoping Ipswich can do us a favour. And obviously they don't get beat a lot at Portman Road, but even if they're to drag, but then you look at us, Brownie, and we've got to carry it on. We've got to beat Preston away. We've got to beat West Brom away.
It's the Championship, mate. It's mental. We could be Saturday tea time 13 points behind, or in 5 days we could be 4 points behind.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird league, mate. It is unforgiving, and this is why I'm saying the big moments with Rutter in the games he's missing the chances are massive, because just in such a short space of time. I mean, when we went to Leicester, they could have been 17 points ahead of us, and then we got it back down to like 8.
I think right now though, Ipswich are if you're giving me any team this weekend to play, it's Ipswich. Any team in the division to play, it's Ipswich. Because, listen, I feel there is only, I've said this at the start, there's only a certain amount of teams that can take points off them at the minute. I think we are one of those teams. And we are trying to close the gap on them. So, us playing them, we can guarantee that they're going to lose, that 3 point, which they pretty much seem to be getting every single week. We can make that up. It's the perfect game for Leeds now, because we're hunting them down. When we're hunting them down, we need to beat them, and we've beaten them once. We can do it again. And yeah, we need to. We almost have. We have control this weekend, Brownie. We have control of our own destiny. Come the end of the weekend, we can take points off Ipswich, and obviously we can move just 7 points. It's to say just 7 points, but then we're looking at Leicester. They've started this week perfectly. Drawing to Norwich, who have really been out of favour over, at the start of the season. They've not been good whatsoever. They've drawn. It's the best case scenario for Ipswich, for us, sorry. The problem is that we've not been able to once again capitalise on it. That's the issue.
Because you could be sat going into the Ipswich game with that gap becoming really small, had we not messed up. Coventry have... You've got no right to win any game. They've come to Ellen Road and took a point, so fair play. But our home form's been really, really good. But it's just the most Leeds United thing ever. I mean, if you'd have wrote a book on Leeds in the last 20 years, it'd be like an encyclopedia. It'd be massive. But we've beaten both Leicester and Ipswich, and we sit 10 points behind them. That tells its own story. Both away, by the way. We've been to Leicester, won. Been to Ipswich, won. And somehow find ourselves 10 points behind them. But I go right back to what I said at the start. The first 5 games of the season are them 10 points.
What's your starting 11 then for the weekend? What would you go with?
I would mix it up. I'd put Jed Spence to right back. What's the point in having him if he's not going to play in his position?
Yeah.
Melier would have to go in goal because we've got no one else. Strike, Rodon kind of picks itself. Left back, I have no idea. At left back. Byram's not available, I'm sure.
Shaq's out, isn't he?
Firpo being some sort of hospital.
Gruev, maybe?
You're going to have to stick with Spence at left back then, aren't you? Based on the fact that we haven't got a left back that can go there. But it doesn't seem like we've had a left back since 2017. So then Gray obviously starts again at right back.
Yep.
Kamara, Ampadu. It just picks itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'd be putting Nonto in. I'd probably go Nonto, Somerville. James and Pura.
Dropping Russell.
I think he's... I won't say dreadful. He set high standards in that first 2 months of the season, and he's not been back to them since the international break. But we talk about players being tired. He's played nearly every game of every minute. They've been playing 3 times a week.
And finally, mate, we should score prediction.
2-1 Leeds. I do think we'll win.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a feeling. I think it's going to be high scoring. Personally, I'm going 3-2 Leeds. But we've got to sort it out. I'd like to see. It's. I think it's 3-2 because I think they're going to come at us.
And drop our most creative player, Somerville's are most creative player, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I just think they're going to come at us, and if they come at us, it's the best for Leeds. I think the problem is the last couple of weeks we've had teams just sitting back in that mid block, and we're struggling with it. Really, I think they're going to come at us.
Obviously, they'll come and be happy with a point. They keep the 10-point gap. But just on that, and it's interesting because a lot of the comments when we were talking about Rutter was he's not been doing it lately. He's been off it. So one comment said he's been awful, but the minute you say drop him, does that show a sign of we have no strength in depth? Because the minute you say drop him, everybody wants him in, but everybody equally are saying he's not been good enough lately.
What about why are you looking at dropping Rutter over Perot? Because obviously we don't know who the number 9 is at the minute. We've no idea. So why, why is it Rutter that you drop? Because for me,
it would be a flip of a coin between the two.
Yeah.
Neither one of them could argue in recent weeks why they're out of the team. But there's positives and negatives from both, isn't there? But I do believe that Perot's, again, like Archie Gray, I don't believe Perot's playing in his natural position. But then again, Rutter's not playing in his natural position. If you look across the team, there's quite a few that are not playing in their proper positions, like Jed Spence, Gray, Perot, Rutter.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why it looks a little bit
disjointed.
Disjointed at times.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, we'll leave it there. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate that. A bit of a different stream at lunchtime, everybody. And let's hope for the 3 points at the weekend. But yeah, Brownie's gone a 2-1. I've gone a 3-2. You want a bit of bonus content? We've got Generation Leeds out today on the Patreon. And go on, Brownie.
Just before you leave, I'm going to say, obviously, because a lot of people have been saying that we do look predictable with the same starting 11.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know who people would leave out, because the minute you say leave one out, everyone's saying keep him in. So how can Fark change his team without leaving anyone out? Someone's got to be left out. Are people edging on Dan James? Are people wanting Perot out? You've got to leave someone out to change the team. So
yeah, get your comments in, everyone. Let us know in the comment section below. Yeah, really appreciate that. We'll leave it as it is. And yeah, see you later, guys. Cheers.